Welcome to the Online Great Books podcast, brought to you by OnlineGreatBooks.com, where we talk about the good life, the great books, great conversation, and great ideas.
Hello, dear listener. This is Brett, and welcome back to the Online Great Books podcast. This week, Scott and Karl continue their discussion of the monastic experience in great detail, in practical detail this time, as they continue to explore the 1,500-year-old book, The Rule of Saint Benedict. This show picks up right where we left off last week, and even though enrollment in Online Great Books is now closed, please remember to go to onlinegreatbooks.com and get on the mailing list so you can get updates. Towards the end of this show, Scott and Karl actually start to just contemplate some format changes for the podcast. And I said, ooh, that's interesting. I can't wait to see where that goes. So if you feel the same way, please get involved, stay up to date. And thank you, as always, for your time and attention. Here we go with the continuation of the Rule of Saint Benedict.
We should probably get to some of the practical stuff. Chapter 6, Restraint of Speech. We absolutely condemn vulgarity and gossip and talk leading to laughter. Well, vulgarity and gossip, probably we can get rid of. Gossip is just curiosity that it doesn't have a good end. Why do you need to know your neighbor's business? Is this so you can help your neighbor? It's just so you can laugh at your neighbor.
Yeah. Schadenfreude.
So they do this divine office. I thought this was interesting. So we should explain what that is. The main job of the monks, at least of Benedictine monks, and Christian monks in general, heck, monks in general, is prayer. It seems like a strange thing to be your main job, but it is. So they treat it as a job. There are, 7 times a day.
It's good work.
They're going to be in chapel. Yeah, 7 times a day they're going to be in chapel. Lauds, Prime, Terce, Sext, Non, Vespers, Compline. So Lauds are the praises at the morning. You wake up maybe early in the morning and you praise God a lot. And then Prime is the first hour, so you count your hours from when the sun comes up. So Prime is the first hour. That'd be about 6 a.m. or depending whenever dawn is in your time of year. Terce is the third. That would be about 9 o'clock. Sext is noon. Non is 3 o'clock. Vespers is, when you light the lamps. And then Compline is just before bed. And then they'll get up in the middle of the night. So I guess there's 8 times, but that one doesn't count because it's 7 times a day and then once at night.
Bonus round.
Yeah, and I thought, there's lots of, for me, practical, historical interest here. The amount of psalms that they do in the middle of the night gets longer when they go into winter.
Because the night's longer.
Because the nights are longer. You have 6 hours of night, 6 hours of day, but they're much longer hours at night. No, 12 hours a night and 12 hours a day. But they're much longer at night. So it's very practical. He's not saying you're going to do these psalms all through the year. No, this is wintertime. We need to change the numbers and work out how to get through 150 psalms in a week. I like the bit, they wake up in the middle of the night. Why do you wake up in the middle of the night? Well, because if you're even Italy's pretty far north. If it's winter, then you go to bed when the lights go out, because light costs money. You're not going to sleep for 18 hours.
He says, by sleeping until a little past the middle of the night, the brothers can arise with their food fully digested.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that in some of the wingnut areas of the internet I go to, there's been interest in recovering this kind of sleep. We have kind of artificial schedule because we don't depend on external light. Maybe we'll need to recover this once the power grid goes down.
There are a lot, for people who don't know about your wingnut parts of the internet, there are lots of accounts of the 2 sleeps. So you read medieval writings and letters and things. People would, no artificial light. So they have a more circadian natural sleep. And people would wake up at midnight, 1, 2 in the morning, and maybe go outside and go for a walk. There are some letters that were written in London during the plague, where people would wake up in the middle of the night and go outside and maybe play a game of dice and so on. And other people were milling around. and then they would be up for a short time, and then they would go maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours, then go back to bed and get up again. And so these monks are doing that. Does everybody know? Does everybody that's listening, Karl, do they know that the clock was the development of the clock was largely driven by these monks, so they could run the divine office and get it all done on time and in proper fashion?
They probably don't. The earliest clock in the modern sense was from 960, made by a pope who was a Benedictine monk before he became pope.
And who else is keeping appointments, right? This book was written a little bit before 547. Who's keeping appointments? Who needs a clock? Everybody's agrarian. Who needs a clock? People navigating by ocean and these guys. That's it.
Right. And in the Mediterranean, you didn't need one to navigate by the ocean.
Right. So it's these guys. These guys wanted a clock. He talks about how, where is it? Oh, here it is. Chapter 11, the celebration of vigils on Sunday, right at the end of it. He says, the arrangement for Sunday vigils should be followed at all times, summer and winter, unless, God forbid, the monks happen to arise too late. In that case, the readings or responsories will have to be shortened. Let special care be taken that this not happen, but if it does, the monk at fault is to make due satisfaction to God in the oratory. Again, if you believe this, then it has to be the most important thing in the cosmos. So to do it right is the most important thing. So if you oversleep the nighttime divine office, you've failed in a catastrophic way, and you have to make it right.
Yeah. I found something else interesting about this. So if you have these 7 times a day, so 6 a.m., 9 a.m., noon, 3 p.m., and then a few more other times throughout the day, that you're going to get a break. Okay, this is agricultural work, labor, picking rocks up and making fences. It wasn't so bad because every couple of hours the bell rings and you get to stop. So, I was thinking, I use a technique when I have a whole bunch of work to do. I really need to get it done. I'll use the Pomodoro Technique, where it's named after a little tomato timer, a little kitchen timer, and you set it for 25 minutes, and you just do the thing that you're going to do for 25 minutes until it dings, and then you can stop and check your email if you need to. But you don't, get back to work. Well, if you are a monk living under the rule of Saint Benedict, you're not going to be slaving away all day in the field. You're going to be working for 2.5 hours. And then you're going to go pray in the cool of the chapel. And then you might have a meal, whatever the meals are. And then you're going to go work again. And then you'll have time. At lunch, they have time for a nap. I love that. After lunch, they can go lie down or read if they like. Maybe private projects or something, but your work day is divided up. It is, you think this monastic life is so hard. If you work in a cubicle farm, your life is harder. You don't get the breaks.
You get a 15-minute break every 4 hours. If you work more than X hours, you get a lunch break and so on, and that's what people do. My day was structured that way for a long time. Well, I don't have to structure it that way now. And I've had to figure it out. I've had to figure out a way to do something, to do it better, or, not kill myself. Across the Christmas break, I had 3 teenage boys as helpers. I had hired them up, and we were tearing up old fence and stuff like that. We would work until the top of the hour, and then it was a 10-minute break. And then we worked to the top of the next hour and a 10-minute break. So we were working 50 minutes with 10-minute breaks. That's more than the Department of Labor would have you do. We could go all day in terrible cold weather or, doing rough work. We can do that all day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
Might not get as much done on this day, short term, as we would otherwise, but we can do that all darn day. And we would take our lunches too. So you eat, and that doesn't really take very long. And we just all sit by the wood stove in here and visitate, and then top of the hour, right back at it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And that first hour after lunch, by the way, is a stinker, because that's actually a 60-minute work hour. And you could tell. We can tell.
Yeah, so it makes sense. Part of this is the practical consideration. Benedict wanted to get you through. There's 150 Psalms in the Bible. He wants to get you through all 150 Psalms every week. The anchorites, the hermits, they would do it every day. The Benedictines would do it every week. I think modern, at least Roman Catholics, they kind of get through it every 4 weeks because we're a degenerate age. So that's the plan, but that's not just the plan. It's not just let's go pray the Psalms. It also divides up the day. If you're going to do work and prayer, which is the Benedictine motto, this is a really good way to keep people working hard for lifetimes and being able to continue and do it and have a life that they don't hate.
Yeah.
We have a painting in our house that my wife likes. I like it too. It's a painting of the Angelus. It's just this husband and wife out in the field. He's got his hat off. They both have their heads bowed, and there's a church tower off in the distance. And what they used to do is they would ring a bell, and it's a Roman Catholic prayer. It's Angelus. It's a recollection of the Annunciation. It takes 5 minutes to say it, and everyone would do it whenever the bell rang at noon. Well, it means everybody gets a break, and we've gotten away from such culture-wide customs for sure. Gosh, in the old days, places used to be closed on Sundays, and you'd say, well, it's good they can stay open on Sundays because free trade and all of that, but it means somebody's got to work on the Sunday.
Man, okay, close this book, Karl. Here in Oklahoma, we had these laws where liquor store couldn't be open on holidays, certain holidays, Sundays, or election days. Liquor store couldn't be open. And you couldn't buy liquor, which was anything with alcohol greater than 3.2%, outside of a liquor store, a package store, you might call them somewhere else. Well, I don't know when it was, 3, 4, 5 years ago, something like that. They changed the law, and now the liquor stores can be open on Sundays. And if I was a liquor store owner, I would have bucked against that with all of my might. In fact, I probably would be closed on Sunday. Mm-hmm. I think having a weekly Sabbath is a very good thing, but economically it is. Like, is there anybody that buys less wine because the store is not open on Sunday? Or do you just buy 7 once a week so you have one every day? Like, did their sales go up? No, their sales went up none. But you know what did go up? The air conditioning bill, the payroll, the wear and tear on the toilets from all the people flushing them, and the cleaning the place at the end of the workday. Mm-hmm. Like, they just prorated out all that business over 7 days instead of 6. What would be perfect would be the old-timey market day, where everybody comes in on Wednesday and everybody sells everything they're going to sell in 4 hours and then closes up and goes about the rest of their life.
Mm-hmm.
Am I an integralist, Karl? Am I an old-timey integralist?
Certainly. It's hard to think that somebody couldn't plan his drinking far enough ahead to manage to get enough liquor. And if you can't plan your drinking ahead, then probably that Sunday where it's closed is a good thing for you.
Right. I'm not even going to make the stupid integralist argument about it being improving of the people, though it might be. It's just, like, there's no rationale for being open on Sunday. It's just dumb. For something like liquor, it's just dumb.
Well, you can think of what happened in medieval Europe with all the feast days. There were a whole bunch of feast days upon which you could not make war, and you had days off. You had all of these days off. What these were like, this is like labor negotiations, except nobody's able to argue with God. So every 7 days you get a day off. Inheritance from the Hebrews. The Sabbath rest is kind of an innovation. Nobody else had it. The Jubilees, the debt forgiveness. Oh my gosh, how horrible that would be. And yeah, it's religious. Chesterton says somewhere, ethics begins in the presence of the sacred. And the older I've gotten, the more I think that's probably true. So having a day that is a day where you're not supposed to work. Oh no, it's an infliction on my rights. No. You're thinking of it wrong. You don't have to work this day, because otherwise your work's going to expand 30 days a month for,
it is
60 hours a week. And, your phone is always going to ping you with a work email, and nobody's ever going to leave you alone. We could use a little bit of a Benedictine rule here to say, nope, these are the times when we're not going to mess with you. These are the times
Listen, your job sucks, dear listener. You hate it. You hate your job anyway. So what if you put in your email signature, I never respond to emails after X p.m. and before X a.m. or on weekends? What if you did that?
No, they would fire you because you're unavailable. Now, if you lived in a culture where there was a, culture-wide prohibition, you don't need to put that in your email.
I say you should do it anyway.
Yeah.
We've got to be more willing to be fired. But, around here, it's dishonorable to be out of work,
Mm-hmm.
People have got debts and they need to keep that money coming in so that they can, I've got a wife and kids, bro. They can do what they want to my body. I'll answer emails at midnight. Listen, Father Abbot, he can't make you work on Sunday or during the hours. He can't make you do that stuff. And I know we don't have that sort of prohibitions like culturally, but like what if, because it's so hard for people to find employees now and all that, what if you just took a little initiative and just assumed you had a little more leverage than you used to and just tell them, listen, hey, or just pick up the phone. Maybe don't even put it in their email. Pick up the phone and say, hey, Steve, you email me after dinner every day. I got an old lady and some kids. I'll catch you on that at 8 a.m. in the morning. Don't email that to me anymore. Or if you do, just know it's going in the queue for tomorrow morning.
Well, but, why could you possibly not do the work that I need for you to do right now? And your answer is, well, it's family. Well, but everyone else does that. So you're going to have to step out and say, no, this is...
You don't even have to give it an excuse. You're like, you pay me X and you don't own every minute of my day. I'm sorry. I want to do a good job for you, but not on Thursday at 9:52 p.m.
Yeah. If you had a more culture-wide understanding of holidays and time off, which, those benighted medievals did, if you had as many days off as they had in the Middle Ages, you'd have vacations all the time. It's a thing that as we got into the Industrial Revolution, we got rid of it because we didn't understand it.
Oh, we understood it fully.
The ones that let it get, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, we got played. Hey, listen, so I hope a bunch of you, heck, I hope one of you or more will say, hey, Steve, you email me at night all the time. I've been answering that. That was a mistake on my part. I want to do a good job during the hours of work. I have other things and other responsibilities, and I will attend to your emails promptly at 8 a.m. during Monday through Friday. Thank you for your consideration. I will talk to you at work tomorrow. Have some damn boundaries, guys.
That would be good.
I love the regimentation. I mean, this is a European thing too. The regimentation in this thing. Like these people, they've got every day is the same. Like a lot of people wouldn't like that, but it sounds wonderful to me. Every day's the same, and they're like, this is my time for reading. This is how I sleep. This is where I sleep. These are the things I do. That sort of regularity. I'm no monk. I'm not going to go down and bang on the door for 4 days and join. But I could do for some more regularity.
The problem is you'd have to bring Charity with you, and that probably wouldn't work.
Big problem. She's a problem. But I think we could all do for some more regularity. I should, after reading this, I have decided that I am going to schedule my days a little better than I have been. I'm not going to be a Benedictine 100% here, but my days will, after reading this, my days will be more regimented than they were.
I think that's good.
Like everybody knows this is good. Everybody knows it's good. Like, I want to get my squat up and read more this year. Well, how in the world are you going to do that? Well, you need to schedule an inviolable gym time, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 5:15. I squish, and then I read for 30 minutes a day before I leave for work. Right? Like whatever it is.
Yep.
Right? Everybody knows that if it's important, you have to focus on it and make time for it. Everybody knows that.
This is where I bet you if you took all these monks and you let them do whatever they want, they wouldn't get near as much work done as requiring them to be in chapel 7 times a day and have this ordered structure. I bet you they got more work done in the long term.
I'm sure of it.
the way we are, we have great intentions. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to learn ancient Greek. No, you're not. When are you going to do this? Every day at 7:30. Okay. That's what you have to do. You have to make the schedule. If you wish to accomplish great things, because it's going to be a little bit every day. If I went and got my Greek books out and studied, there's no perceptible difference at the beginning and at the end of 30 minutes of me working on it. I can't read Homer at the beginning. I can't read Homer at the end. So it's like building that wall. It's a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. In order to do great things, you need to have the structure where you're going to do it every day.
No squat session means anything. So if you go in and you miss a rep or 3 reps, virtually irrelevant. But if you never miss a session, even if your programming's terrible and you got fibromyalgia or whatever you claim you've got, you'll get stronger.
Yeah, I think that, yes. I'm reluctant to say I think that's right. You spoiled it.
It's so fun.
But I think that's right. I think a structure is really good. If you don't have one, you ought to get one. And Benedict's got one right there for you.
Yeah, that's some of that civilization building stuff, right? That's one of. I think that you can point to Benedict when the trains run on time. There's a thread somehow between them, those two things.
Well, yeah, and the breed of cattle that you have, and all of the domesticated fruit trees that you have. Who do you think bred those?
Right. People that had 1,000 years to make that pig fatter.
Right. If you have a 35-year lifespan, maybe, how much do you care about breeding your fruit trees? If you're doing it for the Lord of the Manor, probably not that much. But if you're part of a monastic foundation, you're going to say, well, the monk that comes after me in year 500 probably ought to see some progress on this, and that'll be good.
Karl, there's a lot of the rod in here. We need to talk about that.
Yeah, there is.
You always say we're supposed to talk about things that upset us.
Uh-huh.
So Benedict in several places says that the abbot or the senior, almost everybody at the monastery, takes their position by date that they joined. So the seniority is basically how long you've been there. And sometimes somebody that's a very junior monk might be elected abbot because they elect that guy based on his ability and his spiritual advancement and so on. But it's hierarchical. If somebody tells you, if one of your seniors tells you to do something and you don't do it, or you continue to in your sinful ways or whatever, they are told by Benedict to explain to you, and then you need to do something. You need to act right. And then they're told to explain to you again, and so on. And they've got, I don't know. You tell them 3 times, and the 4th one you go get the rod and you whoop their ass. And then he also says, though, well, if they're not real bright or they're too young to understand, just go ahead and whip them. Just start there. How about that, Karl?
Yes. Okay, so this is a voluntary association. They can always leave. So there's that. So under the condition that you are staying in this house,
there's that.
Then these are the rules. Yeah, I don't like it much either, but I thought what was interesting.
So what you're saying is consent is what matters here?
You can't legitimately consent to evil.
Uh-oh. Interesting.
So no, consent doesn't work.
But you said voluntary. That implies that they consent to having...
Yeah, but they're consenting to the good work of the monastery. They're not consenting to open marriages and weird stuff.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
So that's a little bit different. But some people you can talk to and some people you can't. And so let's throw it back. Here's the puzzle. You have Brother Seamus. No, I shouldn't do that. You have Brother Bill, who's not too bright. And you explain to him, listen, Bill, brother, you need to be in chapel on time. And so the bell rings, and that means that the first bell rings, it means you need to wake up. And the second bell rings, that means you need to start walking to the chapel. And if you do that, you'll be fine. And he nods, but you can see there's no lights on. And he keeps not getting it.
Well, can that guy voluntarily do anything, though, Karl? I mean, Brother Bill's not very bright.
Maybe not. I am not aware of Benedictine monasteries that currently have corporal punishment. They probably don't take in the monks that would have needed it.
Right.
Which, I guess there's pluses and minuses.
If he can't understand the reasoning, then I guess maybe he can understand if he does that, something will hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we have an idea that everybody can be reasoned with.
Oh, I know that's not true.
And that's not true. That's not true. I don't know. A smack on the... I don't even know how they would have done it. Yeah, a smack on the rump with a cane. Say, now go to chapel. Okay.
Okay, man.
Might not be the most evil of things.
How recently was the British Navy using the lash?
Within living memory?
Probably. I would bet. Maybe even in World War II. I don't know. I think this is important. This is a voluntary thing. This is a voluntary association that these men are in. He talks about how to let people leave. Let me see here. Oh, and he has other
Chapter
things
29.
too. There are admonishments.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to do corrections, you'll do admonishments, and then later on, an excommunication. That excommunication wouldn't throw him out of the church or even out of the monastery. They just had to eat alone and set apart. There was sort of an ostracism and a sort of a humiliation, maybe.
If you have had your kids sit in the corner, you have excommunicated.
Right. Excommunicated. They're outside of the communication. Nobody was supposed to talk to them until they had made their penance and fixed it.
I had one kid, I have to tell you, she stayed in that corner. She was supposed to stay in there till she apologized. She stayed in there 2 days. We had to let her out. She just wouldn't do it.
Yeah, Evan will do it till the earth level. She doesn't. That didn't work. So we had to. You know,
she beat us. She ground us down. I'm sure you can guess which one it was.
Yes. He says, of the excommunicated, he says, let him take his food alone in an amount and at a time the abbot considers appropriate for him. He should not be blessed by anyone passing by, nor should the food that he is given be blessed. That's pretty heavy duty. Like if you're one of these guys and you buy in and these prayers and blessings are important to you and you're denied that, that's heavy duty. I can imagine those guys might rather be whooped than that.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty rough. And then he says, then chapter 27, it's called The Abbot's Concern for the Excommunicated.
I love this part.
I do too. The abbot must exercise the utmost care and concern for wayward brothers because it is not the healthy who need a physician, but the sick. He quotes Matthew there. Therefore, he ought to use every skill of a wise physician and send in synpectae, that is, mature and wise brothers, who, under the cloak of secrecy, may support the wavering brother, urge him to be humble as a way of making satisfaction, and console him lest he be overwhelmed by excessive sorrow. Rather, as the apostle also says, let love for him be reaffirmed, and let all pray for him. It is the abbot's responsibility to have great concern and to act with all speed, discernment, and diligence in order to not lose any of the sheep entrusted to him. He should realize that he is undertaking care of the sick, not tyranny over the healthy. Let him also fear the threat of the prophet, in which God says, what you saw to be fat, you claimed for yourselves, and what was weak, you cast aside. He has to imitate the loving example of the good shepherd who let 99 sheep in the mountains and went in search of the one sheep that had strayed. So great was his compassion for its weakness that he mercifully placed it on his sacred shoulders and so carried it back to the flock. Yeah. Not a spiteful punishment. It's not a spiteful punishment.
No, and so officially you're not supposed to talk to the excommunicated, but secretly you do. It's like good cop, bad cop.
Yep.
This might be the origin of that. I kind of, next time you're at Clear Creek, I want you to ask them, any of you get whipped? I was reading the rule.
Yeah, I'll ask him. They'll probably say, 7 years ago. Can you imagine that if you were an abbot, you're a Benedictine abbot of great skill and judgment and discernment and love, Can you imagine not using that under any circumstance? Because there's not now, that's not to say I'm going to beat everybody every day, but like, let's say you're the abbot for 41 years. Like somebody broke in to the cellar 3 times and got hammered and barfed in the stalls.
Yep.
Now, the good abbot would say, I should never have this guy should never have been to the point. But you know what I'm saying? Like, there's stuff, like, in the fullness of time, you'd go get the rod off of the hook.
Well, probably you'd say to the guy, look, you need to stop doing this. And if he gives satisfaction, then that's it. But if he does it again, you got to quit doing this. Okay, well, if you're going to stay here, well, you might need to get swatted. The door's there. You can leave. I don't want the job.
I don't want the job either. There is a Plato-Aristotelian idea that if it would be just to punish that guy and he needs improvement, then him partaking in his own punishment would have him partake in justice, which would improve his soul.
Yeah.
So, a lot of these men, I know this is hard for the modern person to think of, it's hard for me to think of, a number of them would ask for this punishment.
Oh, sure. If the alternative was to leave or to be excommunicated, right, you'd rather take your whipping and get to the dinner table, wouldn't you?
Yep. If a brother has been reproved frequently for any fault, or if he has even been excommunicated yet does not amend, let him receive a sharper punishment. That is, let him feel the strokes of the rod.
Yeah. Chapter 28, sometimes you have to amputate. Sometimes you have to get rid of them.
Yeah.
If people leave, you can leave. You are free to leave. If a brother following his own evil ways leaves the monastery but then wishes to return, you can come back. You can come back 3 times. But after that, sorry. If you came back the 3rd time, if you leave again, you can't ever come back. I think that's reasonable. It's probably more reasonable than I would have done.
When the man joins, it's really hard. He tells you how to join. You got to go bang on the door and weep and all this stuff for like days and days, and then they'll let you in, and then they make you do all the hard work, and then they read the rule to you, and then you have to do all the hard work again, and then they read the rule to you. Like, it takes a while. They want you there, but only if you really, really, really want it. When they finally let you in, you can't have anything. And so they take your clothes and they put you in the habit and the woolen cloak and so on. But they put your clothes in a locker in case you need to leave. They give you can give you a suit of clothes back and head you on your way. I thought that was kind of cool, actually.
Yeah. So here's the job I figured you would have. This is in 31, the cellarer.
That's the job I want. Yeah.
The one who takes care of all the stuff.
He's the quartermaster.
Yeah, and I really like that. And I wish I could. I have read from the Rule of Saint Benedict to my children, trying to get them to do this because they break all my stuff. And bugs me. He will regard all utensils and goods of the monastery as sacred vessels of the altar, aware that nothing is to be neglected. Gosh, that would be just a little thing to institute in a family situation. The dishes, treat them like, and if you go to church, you treat them like the chalice. You don't break it. You don't throw it around. You want that thing to be there for another 500 years. There's no reason for a plate to degrade over time. You might as well just keep it. Just take care of it. Don't slam it down. It drives me. Ugh. They're putting dishes away, and I just hear the clanking.
The brothers at Clear Creek, you go sup with them. They all sit in their own place each time. They have their place at the dinner table. And there's a little cubby hole where that pencil tray would be in your desk at work, and you pull that skinny that skinny drawer out that has the pencils and all that stupid stuff in there. There's a little cubby hole there. And they have a plate and a knife and a fork. Is that right? Or is it a knife and a spoon? They don't have a knife, a fork, and a spoon. They've only got a knife and then one of the others. It must be a spoon. I can't remember. And I think the spoon has got a stabby on the end of it. I think.
It's a spork.
Yeah. No, it's not a spork. Like you can stab stuff with one end. It's like a one-tine fork on the one end.
Oh,
and then
okay.
a spoon on the other. Like you could go look at that old, like the spoon used at communion and coronation and that's in the crown jewels. It's like that one, I think. I don't stare at them. I'm scared to look at them. So they get their food, and then when they're done, they each has a cloth napkin that's placed at their place because monks take turns serving the other men. And before you when they get there, the linens are laid out. And it's just a simple cotton, unfinished piece of cloth. I mean, it's just a square just cut with ragged edges. So they finish eating, and the guys lick their plates, and then they buff them with their napkin. And they lick their spoon, and they buff it with the napkin, same with the fork, and they put it back underneath there. But it's not theirs. It actually belongs to the monastery, and the cellarer is the one that gives that to them. And if somebody was to drop a plate while passing the plates or whatever and broke it, they would have to go to the cellarer and get another. And I don't know, man, he might have a freak out. I mean, not a freak out. No brother's going to have a freak out, but you might get in trouble, or perhaps somebody slipped and it was an honest mistake and there's no trouble. But they take really good care of everything. People donate books to the monastery, and they've got 2 libraries. One library that I do not have access to, which is almost enough to join because I've heard stories of it. And then they have a guest library. And when people donate these books, like even if it's a paperback book, like if you donated a book, and they're not going to take every donation. Like if you donated Angelus Ashes and a Maya Angelou book. they wouldn't keep them. But somebody was griping about me crapping on Maya Angelou. Said I wasn't open-minded. I'm open-minded. I listen. She's no good.
I read the heck out of that poem. I tried really hard to make it make sense. I'm sorry.
It's just so dumb. You guys are just rude to her for making her think she was good. Anyway, they take the books that are suitable.
But she might have been good, but that one was no good. That inauguration poem was no good.
I have no evidence that she's any good. But even if it's a paperback book, they completely take it apart and rebind it, and sew it into a hardback, and make a better quality book out of it. Like even if it's a gift to them, they redo it in such a way that it'll last longer than it would have otherwise. And so there are books in the library in there where the paper's not very good. It's one of these paperbacks. It's maybe a little acidic and the paper's not great, but the binding's perfect. And then if there's a book that's damaged somehow, they have a man there that fixes that book. And these, how much is a paperback? How much is a paperback? $6.95? Like economically, it makes 0 sense. But they take care of everything, and they're frugal. It's all a gift to them, and they're very frugal about it.
It's like the boots. It makes sense that you're not going to have to buy that book again.
Yeah.
I love the approach to physical belongings. I I have ambitions to try to do that more in my own life. Of course, I don't have an abbot yelling at me. The abbot wouldn't yell, but, I don't have an abbot yelling at me to take care of all this stuff. But if you look around your house, think about all the stuff that you have. How would it change how you took care of it if this had to last for centuries?
There are some things I want, tools that you can't buy anymore. And I go to like junk stores and antique stores, like in rural places, trying to find cider presses. You can't even find this stuff.
You're going to have to make one.
And then if you do, it's like, it's got a crucial plastic part that even if it doesn't break because of misuse, it's just going to get old and brittle and break and whatever. And I don't want to mess with it again. Like, do I really, how much time of my life do I want to spend finding a replacement part for that plastic thing in the cider press? Like, no time. I don't want to do that. So yesterday, I was in this little old town and stopped at 2 antique stores, and they had a cider press in one of them. I didn't buy it because it's still going to be there. I got to go contemplate it. I took pictures of it. It needs work. But the screw was good. The screw is the part I'm worried about.
You need a friend who's a blacksmith
Yeah.
to make these parts. Somebody's got to get a forge and figure out how to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
Which, the monastery would have. So the monastery would tend to have all of this stuff in it. The historical development of the monasteries, they would be self-sufficient. They would have machine shops in them. They would be schools of agriculture for the surrounding areas. Heck, the guy that invented genetics was a monk. I can't remember if he was Benedictine or not. Mendel. Dark Ages weren't all that dark, but they would have been much darker but for the monks.
Augustinian friar and abbot of St. Thomas's Abbey.
Yeah. There's a poet named Catullus. He's an excellent Roman poet. Just fantastic. If you trace out the history of the text, one copy survived in a monastery library. One. It would have all been gone. We would know nothing of Catullus, this fantastic poet.
Karl?
Civilization building.
From the 1st of October to the beginning of Lent, the brothers ought to devote themselves to reading until the end of the 2nd hour. At this time, terce is said, and they are to work at their assigned tasks until noon. At the first signal of the hour of noon, all put aside their work to be ready for the second signal. Then, after their meal, they will devote themselves to their reading or to the Psalms. During the days of Lent, they should be free in the morning to read until the 3rd hour, after which they will work at their assigned tasks until the end of the 10th hour. During this time of Lent, each one is to receive a book from the library and is to read the whole of it straight through. These books are to be distributed at the beginning of Lent. Above all, 1 or 2 seniors must surely be deputed to make the rounds of the monastery while the brothers are reading. Their duty is to see that no brother is so apathetic as to waste time or engage in idle talk or neglect his reading, and so not only to harm himself but also distract others. They're assigned books.
Yep.
And they are to read the whole thing.
It's a book club.
The club of the book.
Yeah, so literacy, scholarship. People think that civilization is easy, that it just happens. You just plant humans somewhere and civilization happens, and I don't think it's so easy. It takes stuff like this.
If anyone is so remiss and indolent that he is unwilling or unable to study or to read, he is given some work in order that he may not be idle. Brothers who are sick or weak should be given a type of work or craft that will keep them busy without overwhelming them or driving them away. The abbot must take their infirmities into account. Karl, my dad has multiple myeloma. He has bone cancer, and he's been on chemotherapy.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's all part of the game. And he has been getting bags of pecans, uncracked pecans, and cracks all the pecans and is picking all the goodie out of them and sorting them through. Hours every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He can do it.
Yeah.
He can do it. And, he used to go out in his little shop every day and do something, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Whatever little project he was working on. And it's cold. Golly, it's like 12 degrees out right now. He's not going to go out there and stumble around out there. And so picking pecans, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, so that you're not indolent, so that you're doing something worthwhile.
Yeah, but it's not worth it. Like he's like the value of the pecans. I mean, he's getting like 12 cents an hour, Karl. It's just not worth it. Like economically.
Well, the benefit of the work is not necessarily in the value of the thing worked. There is benefit to the worker to do the work.
Right. This is not the Calvinist idle hands or the devil's workshop. It's like the work is improving. It's not your base, and if you're not working, you're going to screw up, though you might. The work is improving. It's also a prayerful act for these people too, yes?
Yeah. I think that there's a good deal of it that is, the idle hands, the devil's workshop, that there is that. That is true.
There is
it
some
is true.
of that, for
but
sure.
To get to the end of the day and know that what are you going to do other than crack walnuts? Or not walnuts, pecans. What are you going to do other than crack pecans open? Watch Dr. Phil?
Well, I won't lie. He's probably watching something too. but yeah.
Yeah, so if you think of all of the time that you spend wasting, that were you a monk, the abbot would say, no, you need to do something. Well, what have you accomplished in all the time that you wasted?
My cousin is building a house, and my uncle, who's just darn near 80, he's built some houses, and he knows some stuff. But he was in an automobile wreck at the end of the summer and broke his leg, and they had to put some pins in there. It was pretty ugly, and he had to go to physical therapy, and he's not quite back yet, although I think he will be. And he just goes. He goes over there and sweeps up sawdust and picks up construction scrap.
Mm-hmm.
What's he supposed to do?
Do work that is good.
Seems like it.
It's okay. It'll be better. Just go do some work. It's all right.
Oh, my.
Everybody does kitchen service. I love that. Everybody has to serve. That's the worst part, is the kitchen stuff. They read during meals. You've talked about that before.
It's one of my favorite things in the world. Don't you love it?
Brothers will read and sing. Yeah. Brothers will read and sing not according to rank, but according to their ability to benefit their hearers. We give you jobs because you're the best at it.
Yep. But if you like it too much, you don't get
You have to stop. Yeah. You got to stop for a while.
I love that. I love that. Guys, they read so much. Not only they read, but they're read too. So much. People don't understand how many hours are spent on this. It's astounding. The proper amount of food. He tells you exactly how many pounds of bread and what kind and how many courses of each of these meals and so on. That's perfect.
Half a bottle of wine.
Half a bottle of wine, yeah.
Trivia, dear listener, Dom Perignon was a monk. The guy that figured out champagne.
Chartreuse.
Yep.
A drink invented by Carthusian monks.
Chimay beer is monastery beer.
Chambord.
Probably a bunch of the cheeses that we have.
Yeah. Trappist ales. Come on. What is this stuff? The reception of guests. They have vows of hospitality that they have to carry out here. All guests who present themselves are to be welcomed as Christ, for he himself will say, I was a stranger and you welcomed me. Proper honor must be shown all, especially to those who share our faith, and to pilgrims. Once a guest has been announced, the superior and the brothers are to meet him with all the courtesy of love. First of all, they are to pray together and thus be united in peace, but prayer must always precede the kiss of peace because of the delusions of the devil. All humility should be shown in addressing a guest on arrival or departure, by a bow of the head or by complete prostration of the body. Christ is to be adored because he is indeed welcomed in them. After the guests have been received, they should be invited to pray. Then the superior or an appointed brother will sit with them. The divine law is read to the guest for his instruction, and after that every kindness is shown to him. The superior may break his fast for the sake of a guest, unless it is a day of special fast, which cannot be broken. The brothers, however, observe the usual fast. The abbot shall pour water on the hands of the guest, and the abbot with the entire community shall wash their feet. They still do all this, though at Clear Creek they don't do the washing of the feet. And I suspect that's because we just don't wear sandals and stuff like that.
If I wore my sandals, would they do it?
I hope not. Weird, the hobbit toes. So weird.
I do not have hobbit toes.
I don't know about that. Triple E. Super weird. The clothing and footwear of the brothers is outlined, which I like. Describes artisans that there will be men who have skilled positions. Of course, you have to have the men of skill, but they are to be cautioned and disciplined in such a way that they don't take undue pride in that. I like that.
There are some things which are not said, but they sleep in one room, and the lights kept on, and the old are kept with the young. So in other words, no shenanigans can happen, which is wise.
A lamp must be kept burning in the room until morning. But, so you're not, after Compline, you're not supposed to talk. But they ring the bell and everybody has to wake up. And he says, on arising for the work of God, they will quietly encourage each other, for the sleepy like to make excuses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Heck, I don't even know where I am when I wake up. They'd have to say, Brother Karl, you're a monk. You're in a monastery. It's the year 1248. I wouldn't know.
Right at the end. Then, with Christ's help, keep this little rule that we have written for beginners. After that, you can say, whatever, for beginners. My buddy Karl told me that I should watch the BBC television show Tudor Monastery Farm.
Yes.
And I've watched that thing. Man, that's good. That's great. The BBC has done a number of those shows. There's a Edwardian Farm. There's Victory Garden. I can't remember what they all are. But that one's about an English monastery community, which they all were until Henry VIII wrecked it all. In the center of the life of the entire community was the monastery. Everything. Go watch that show, which is a delight to watch. You'll enjoy it.
Ruth and what's the guy's name? Peter?
I don't know. All I know is she's Ruth Goodman, and she's awesome.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun.
She's like an archaeological home economist. I think she's made a lifetime of studying home economy in the past. Awesome.
They're respectful of the time. So if you're going to do, I forget what year, it's like 1590 in this show.
It's before that.
It's before then. They're not going to make fun of these primitives that don't know what they're doing. They're going to try to live it, and they're going to show you what was good about it. And one of the things they talk about is market day. You know, where everybody goes to the town, and it's kind of like a Renaissance fair thing. They're just, I mean, it's not real, but they're showing you what it would have been like. Where you just bring your geese, you bring everything, and you know, maybe you go home with some mustard from some far off place. And they actually go into the church, and they show you what the church would have. They have church services and show you what they would have done, and it's not so horrible. And yeah, I would have liked penicillin. I think I would have liked penicillin.
There's nothing about it that would preclude the discovery of penicillin. We've talked about this. Now, I'm looking up right now when Henry dissolved the monasteries and stole them.
Yeah, so you should know this. The history of England. England was very monastic. Pope Gregory sent Benedictine monks, I think, to England. So Augustine of Canterbury was a Benedictine, I think. And so Benedictine foundations were there. Well, they aren't anymore. There might be some now. But what happened was when Henry VIII made himself head of the Church of England, probably the thing that really solidified the change was that they took all the goodies from the monasteries and gave them to the nobles. If you watched Downton Abbey, which my wife loved, I watched it until they killed off that one character, and then I couldn't handle it anymore. But it was an abbey. It was an abbey that some rich family got when Henry VIII took it from the monks. So all of those places that are called abbey.
Abbey Grange. All these monasteries owned thousands of acres. In the aggregate, millions of acres probably, and that was all distributed.
Why would an autocrat need to get rid of the monasteries?
All the reasons.
Well, they're in the way.
Yeah, he just wants to be unaccountable. Irresponsible, if you will. The dissolution and suppression of the monasteries was an administrative and legal process between 1536 and 1541. So Tudor Monastery Farm is about the era before that. So maybe it's Henry VII's reign, whatever. So it's the early 1500s. But that show does a really good job of describing what the economy was like. You know, if you wanted to make fine wool for export, not common trade at market day, you would have to bring it to the abbey, and their wool expert would approve it or not, and then help you get a broader market. So that's one of the things. I think that's one of the things they were really concerned about, is like raising the higher grade or higher quality set of products that the monastery would then help them distribute outside of their regular market day, where they could get a higher price. And not just a higher price, there would be a larger demand too. You know, the little community they lived in, those people only wanted to buy so many turnips or so many pounds of wool, and they could get a broader market with higher prices and sell a higher quantity outside. So that church was the center of everything. Everybody in that neighborhood could hear the bells, and they could govern their day by that same bell that tolled for all of those Benedictine brothers to go to the hours. feast days. These people did not work as many days and as many hours as we do. All this idea about this better living through science and, pursuing they worked less than we do, guys. And this show just shows you. And the whole basis of that economy, which built Europe from 500 until the mid 1500s, it's Karl. I think it's our thesis that it derives from the Rule of Benedict and the practices in those monasteries.
Mm-hmm.
The recovery of the classical tradition from the Romans and the Greeks was actively done in the monasteries. The monasteries might have gotten hold of transcripts that some of that Avicenna and some of the Moors had gotten hold of, but they are the ones that did the translation work. They're the one that did the copying work, and they are the ones that eventually did the commentaries, like Aquinas's commentary on the metaphysics, that changed the way Europeans think and make Europeans have a epistemology. Their brains work differently in 1500 than they did anywhere else in the world. I'm convinced of it. And it's because of the education that they had created, they had recovered and then furthered and created for themselves.
Yeah, we might be sounding kind of nostalgic here, but I tell you, you go read, the scholastics weren't all Benedictines, but or even largely Benedictines. But if you think you're a smart guy, if you think you're smart, all right, okay, go read yourself some John Duns Scotus or some Thomas Aquinas or Peter Lombard and see if you can hang. I bet you can't.
No. I just put together a group. Karl, I think I've told you this. 3 other guys and myself have undertook to work through Aquinas' Little Summa over the next 2 years. We're going to read roughly 20 to 25 chapters of the Little Summa per month and to meet once a month and discuss it. And one of the guys in there said, oh my gosh. He was looking at the Thomisticus Institute website. He's like, oh my gosh, how many pages? I mean, how many books did this guy write? And it's like, I don't know, Karl, was it like 28,000 pages or something like that? I mean,
I worked it out at one point. At his peak, he was writing something like 28 pages a day of single-spaced, really high-quality academic work.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Which, if you've ever tried, when I was writing my dissertation, which was not the highest quality academic work, I was lucky to get a page a day. I was kind of slow, but to do 28, big brain. He started as a Benedictine, by the way. Mm. He was going to be a Benedictine monk and then ran away to be a Dominican. And was at Monte Cassino, which is Benedict's Abbey, which there was a huge battle in World War II, by the way. Yeah. They blew it up, so it's been rebuilt.
You're talking about big brain? Thomas supposedly would dictate. He had 5 scribes that worked for him, and he would dictate 5 books at a time.
Yep. And in fairness, not a Benedictine, but growing right out of that tradition and using their libraries and and so I'm nostalgic, and I love Tudor Monastery Farm. I might watch it again, just sit with a beverage and feel cozy. I don't know that you can go back.
Of course not.
But the way forward might be enlightened by thinking about the way things used to be. And maybe even on a small scale in your community or with your friends, you can do associations, voluntary associations like this for common goods with rules. I think it would be great.
One of our internet friends, Karl, he calls it the integralist impulse to go back to this and to become a neo-Amish and reinstitute a Sabbath and the orders and so on, is like voluntarily relegating yourself to serfdom.
Yeah, I've seen that.
What do you see to this?
I say I can see the point. Going and joining the potato waffen, running off and planting potatoes, and it seems like a retreat. And I would rather think of it as building a fortress. You need a place for people to thrive in order to come and transform it and make things better. So you got to have the people. I mean, he's right about the retreating.
I don't know that it's retreat. I would say to him, or anyone else that postulates that, is that we're already serfs. But you can go be a wage serf on the other guy's farm, or you can at least sharecrop your own piece of dirt. I would say we already are, but I would say that there's more freedom and agency and self-fulfillment in the potato waffen, the potato waffen. I think that this culture comes out of these folk ways, work ways, and spiritual ways. And you need those things, and then some geniuses, like geniuses of intellect and geniuses of will. And we've got to have folk ways, work ways, and the spiritual ways, so that the genius of will and the genius of intellect has got a foundation, that they have a substrate.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what's the genius of intellect or the genius of will going to do in the world of Blade Runner? There's just only violence at that point. That's all there can be.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what's coming. I don't know. I mean, it feels like the end of an age in a lot of ways. It feels like things are running down. Something new needs to come. That's where the Catholic integralist, it is kind of empty. Well, let's just go back to, and I love Latin, let's just go back to Latin and everything will be great. No, maybe you should go back to Latin, but that's not going to make everything great. It has to be new. I don't know how it's going to be new.
I don't know how it's going to be new either. But, I think something wonderful and beautiful came out of the medievals.
Mm-hmm.
And the medieval era was created by picking up that classical tradition from the Greeks and the Romans and then synthesizing and expanding it.
They didn't go back to become Greek.
But they synthesized and expanded.
And they didn't go back to become Roman. They became something else. So whatever's going to come is going to be something else.
And I hope that it is built on an objective philosophy like scholasticism, with whatever new is added and is necessary. Yep. I think that's where it's going to be.
Yep. First step, smash all the cell phones.
Hey, they're listening to us on cell phones right now, man.
Oh, no, wait. Take that out. Don't put that one in.
Yeah, go ahead and do that. Have I gotten you to be a scholastic yet, or are you still this continental guy?
I have read a whole bunch of scholastics.
Well, I know you've read them, but are you one? Like I think I've read Anton LaVey.
But what makes my heart skip a beat is more likely Kierkegaard or Heidegger, God help me.
Oh, my Lord. Okay. Well, there's that little book.
Well, we talked at it for a long time.
Yeah, we talked at it. It's a short little thing. I don't think we did a good job, guys. Just read it. It doesn't matter what we said. It's so short. There's no reason for you to not read it.
It is foundational. Everybody says it's about books, but this one really is. It's foundational. I don't know if it counts as great in its literary quality, but certainly in its influence on civilization. You probably ought to have read it at one point. It'll take you 2 hours. You get through it.
And even if you are like, oh, there they go with that papist garbage again. Somebody is a leader of people, and somebody who wants a more ordered, purposeful, pointed life can benefit from reading it.
Hey, you Protestants, you want to make monasteries? Go ahead.
Yeah, I dare you. Go ahead.
Nobody's stopping you.
Yeah. And then we're going to read a little Walker Percy, Lost in the Cosmos, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Lost in the Cosmos, the last self-help book. It is not a novel. It is not a philosophy book. It is a series of, I believe, 20 questions to pose to yourself. And I think it's hilarious and a lot of fun. And I'm really excited to inflict it on Scott Hamrick.
Oh, I look forward to it. I always enjoy Brother Walker. And after that, we'll read the subversive Joel Salatin's new book, Polyface Micro, which I sure look forward to. I'm gonna learn a whole bunch from that thing. I know I am. Now Karl's looking at his phone. Oh my! I've been running this discussion group at Online Great Books about the Great Books method, and our last meeting we discussed the Hutchins kind of essay, maybe booklet called The Great Conversation. I think we need to talk about that one at some point. It's not a heavy lift.
Sure.
It's 40, 50 pages, but it's interesting in a lot of ways. It's pretty weird. It's pretty weird. What else you want to talk about?
Oh, I don't know. That's like, we're already three shows ahead. We should do something light, like Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire.
Oh, well, I want to do that Carol Quigley book. I was wanting to do the one on weapon systems, or maybe the Anglo-American Alliance. Like, get weird, you know?
Technology and warfare.
Yeah. But here's something I was thinking about as I was driving my Ford F-250 home today. You know, the Shelby Foote show, the first episode, is our most downloaded show. Like, it smashed all the records, Karl. I haven't seen the numbers on the second show yet, and I don't know. I'm not real pleased with how that one went. I think I could have done better, but that was nice. But everybody knew that was going to take a long time. I don't know if it's because it was about the Civil War, or if it was because it was Shelby Foote, or it's because we hyped it for so long, or what. But I thought, I wonder if it would be a good idea to take this show in more of a sort of Dan Carlin kind of direction. Not that I want to be like a moderate boomer and say nothing interesting, but that we do fewer but bigger shows. I don't know. It would be interesting to see what people thought.
That would require us to have a plan. So yeah. Uncle Brett said, because I now that I know he's doing the introductions, I actually listen to our show now. I don't listen to me or you. I just listen to Brett's introductions, where he says he suspects there'll be other Shelby Foote shows. Okay.
Because we liked Uncle Shelby so much. But it implies that we might know what we were going to do, but maybe we could say, okay, we're going to do 6 shows on the Gibbons book, or we're going to do 3 shows on Tragedy and Hope, the Carol Quigley book, or, I don't know. But, we've been trying to intersperse something kind of heavy with, Benedict's rule at, 35 pages or something like that. And I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what people say about that, and for me and you to think about it. I don't know that that's the way to go, but it could be interesting.
I'm going to throw something out. Silmarillion.
Yeah. Golly, is that 1,000 pages?
No, it's not that long.
Yeah.
It'd break your heart.
Yeah. I mean, that could be okay. Like, we could do some more ambitious things if we went and did that. And, and we're not pregnant with any of it. We could just say, hey, there's only going to be 4 shows between now and Memorial Day, and they're going to be over this brick. And then we'll go back to our regular schedule. I don't know. Let
me chew on it.
Yeah, we'll think about it. We can do anything we want to do because we didn't take the ticket. We didn't sign a contract with Spotify where they say you have to do this many shows this year. And we like this format where they're 52 to 108 minutes. And, we can do whatever we want to do, man.
Yes, but then freedom opens up ahead of you like an abyss.
Right. Well, I'm standing at the edge of the abyss, and I just wanted to jump, man.
I'm looking for a rope.
We're out here shilling for all this heavy-duty great books money.
Yeah, the huge amount of money that is pouring into the great books industry.
Yeah.
My goodness. It's like big pharma, big great books.
Big great books. All right, there's that. You can email me at scott@onlinegreatbooks.com what you think of that. And like Father Abbot, I will listen to all of your counsel, and then Karl and I will make the right decision, and then you must abide by it. Thanks for listening.